when you've ruined a power fist. I think I've ruined a power fist. I think it'll look okay. We'll see. Shouldn't be multitasking. Should be focusing on you. You lovely people. Killer Kriegsman, thank you for being a member for 2 months. How's the sound? How's the lighting? One moment. We'll cut that. We'll cut that bit out. How are we doing? Hello, Vanguard Wargaming. The long summer is over. Winters is here. It was quite a nice summer, wasn't it? As far as summers go. In this country, it got very hot. Lighting good. AAA, hello. Andy H, hey. Sounds good. Lighting's angelic. Reckless. Thank you so much. So the normal hobby update. How you been, by the way? You alright? Got a brew on I haven't got brew, I've got water. So today, Sultan and Alex SEO had a everything good in the US. Evening all. And Sanguinary Guard in the chat, good stuff. Alex SEO and Sultan had a fight. And because Sultan's recovering from surgery. And Alex had a half day because he was working late on Saturday. And they both fought each other. We didn't film it. It was just nice to see two... Part of the SEOs, part of the people I grew up with playing this, now merging more and more and more with people that I met through the community online and doing this. So it's lovely to see those things. So that was a nice game, and Cat cooked, and so we all had some food. And in the meantime, I've been going through the Emperor's Children project. So yeah, we got... I think I showed you what we're talking about. Anyway, Wee Man, painting more Death Watch. Oh, that kind of fight. Lols. No, yeah. So I think I showed you some of the test models. Very happy with the Emperor's Children on them. Then, of course, more money on Forge World on the Palatine Blades, including Ancient Rylanor, but that's a 13th arm that I'm requesting because it's Ancient Rylanor, man. And then over here... I'm making lots of, there's I think it's Fury of the First. You can take veterans as troops and they score. So it's going to be glorious. And then Den of Imagination, the greatest painting studio in the Sol system, is currently working on the whole box sets of Sons of Horus. The big one with and everything, and the Dreadnought and the Spartan and the Cataphracti. And they've also got Sikaran. And I mean to send them a couple more tanks, and I mean to send them all the Death Guard as well. So very excited about that, which means the Necron project is coming to a close, and I need to do a video on that. Working on Blood Bowl Amazons currently. Nurgler's Plead seems good. Reckless, met my niece today, and now I'm building a Yinkan. Cool. I suppose, Yinkan, godly, god of death. Your niece, maybe your niece had so much life and love. I should say Nurgle Matthew is please spreading the... I don't know what you're talking about. Death Guard is on the cards at the Mo with Acadians in the future. Well, we also know what's coming in the future, don't we? Loads of Votan stuff. Who's getting Votan? That's a good question, isn't it? We can ask that poll. Who is actually getting Votan? Well, how do you do polls again? Guys, how do you do the polls again? Winter's talking, Lear, Lim and Clark. Yeah, how do you do polls? Say something, show your support, add reaction, engage with your audience. Start a poll. It's changed, look. Who's getting Votan? Who is getting Votan? Not who's thinking about it, but who is getting or has got Votan. No, because it's a yes, no. Are you... How do I ask this better? Who is not getting Votan is better. Who is not getting Votan, ask your community. So if you're not getting it, yes. And if you are getting it, no. Is that a double negative? You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to see, because my sense is from the community, not a lot of people are getting it. Talk to the audience. Well, if you've got any questions, M. Wilson, you can talk to me. You can ask me a question. So if you are getting it, if you're not getting it, yes. And if you are getting it, no. I buggered that up, didn't I? Well, it's very confusing. So we'll end that. It's 50-50. Done at 40 odd. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for coming to the live stream. So Emperor's Children, the Necron's project is coming to an end. I'm waiting for another monolith to turn up, and I want to do a video about it. And I'm going to do a video. I wrote a little bit of ideas down just on the back of the fag packet. You know what I mean? Because I was talking to Steve, not Rob, and what do I make of the Dark Mech rumours? So I was talking to Steve, not Rob. Stay me on target on that one. Keep me on target. And he said I should do my 10th edition wish list. So I've come up with what I think is my 10th edition wish list. Try and put that together in a 10-minute video in order to stimulate conversation in the community, so that someone somewhere at Games Workshop hears us and at least one of the 10 managed to get through or influence at least in some way the writing for the next edition, even if we might be at too late a stage to do that. So what am I thinking about? Dark Mech rumours? Well, at this stage, they're so very early, the Dark Mech rumours. We've heard lots of stories about the Lion, so he's pretty much coming. But we knew Mortarion and Magnus, and the only one they were able to keep secret very well was Guilliman. Not a lot of people saw that one coming, but all the other Primarchs, including Angron and the World Eaters, we know are coming. The Dark Mech could be a thing. I think it's just a license to print money. They need to plumb it's Chaos Guard and Chaos Mech. Needs to be a thing, and it needs to be in the lore, and it is coming, and whether it's coming really soon or later, who knows, but it's coming. It's just they'll sell. They didn't sell the Votan very well though, did they? Because I don't feel that they're original enough. So if they do Dark Mech, it needs to be original, and we need to see some truly demonic cybernetic crap. We need to be horrified by these meshes of machine and chaos that they come up with. Don't play it like Admech with spiky bits. Don't play it like the Votan, which has got Devastators, Berserkers, not Land Raiders, and not Razorbacks. Make it dark and mech. And the Admech players will be all over it, and Chaos players will be all over it. If they do it well, the majority but not all Chaos players will be over it. And if they do it well, the majority but not all Admech players will be all over it. So therefore it is a license to print money. It's coming. That's my views, and I hope it's coming soon. It's definitely something I'll be interested in. Bring on the bad mech. Let them take many 30k units. Yeah, so the Legio Cybernetica Andy H was banned after the heresy. So now you have Cataphron destroyers, Cataphron robots, Castellan robots, whatever they're called. I forget the new chonky ones, but they're cybernetic wafers, right? They don't have a brain. But back in the 30k, those Thalaxi that you see, the Uzuraks that you see, the big Castellan robots that you see, they've all got a bit of a brain and some spinal column in there. And the Thalaxi in particular, they're not having a very nice time. They're in pain all the time. And it's the opposite. It's very much the butcher's nails. They're in pain all the time with these neurostimulators and this brain in a jar inside this Thalax body. And what the surgery does to this Thalax is it makes it completely in tune with its body and the absolute beautiful fighting machine that it does. But the tech priests don't know that the process of putting a brain in a jar and hooking it up to all these things is extremely painful and is entirely and always painful to the thing inside it. And the only people that are aware that the Thalax is screaming in pain are psychics and people like that can read the auras coming off of them. And it's very much like the butcher's nails, only because the World Eaters are in pain, physical, emotional, and psychological pain when they are not at war. And the only thing that dulls the pain of the Thalaxi is close combat and war, because then the cybernetic construct that this brain in a vat has been plugged into knows to release battle stims and adrenaline and endorphins during battle, because it's following this pre-planned program that the cybernetica have stamp pressed these beings into for the last 2, 3, 4,000 years, maybe even earlier, so they only find release in combat, which is why they've got hatred and why they feel no pain, because they live in pain. They feel no pain on 6-up, but Uzarax have got it too. So a sprinkling of that in 40k, who isn't going to love that? And then put demons inside them and just make them worse. I mean, one of the reasons why the Cybernetica was banned after 30k, the Legio Cybernetica, and you only get it in Kelbor, Hal, and the Dark Mechanicum and places like that, is because if you've got a brain in a vat lodged into a massive cybernetic construct, such as a Thanatar or something like that, there still is just one brain in one vat inside that walking Leviathan siege dreadnought thing, barring out. He's not happy in there. And that soul, if it could hear the whisperings of the warp, and bear in mind that the Dominus lock it down and lock it down and lock it down and lock it down with loads of wards and things that they don't, but they lock it down as best as they can. But these things, with the whispers of the warp and with the whispers of the Dark Mechanicum, they listened to some kind of release or some kind of mercy, some kind of revenge, some kind of payback. And the Legio Cybernetica were easily turned to the forces of chaos. I mean, the Thousand Sons, even before the heresy, had souls inside. I forget what they're called, but they had Castellan robots walking around all over the place with brains in vats. And they were all linked by these gemstones and all led by the mind of one sorcerer who would link his mind through these 10-foot tall battle automatons and wage into war with them. And that's why the Thousand Sons, that's why Horus could pull the trigger on the Emperor's Executioners, the Space Wolves, and aim that bullet at one legion and take it out of the fight. And he aimed that bullet at the Thousand Sons because a legion of sorcerers, or a legion where every sergeant is a sorcerer, and then they have full teams of sorcerers, full squads of sorcerers, whereas the vast majority weren't sorcerers. But there's a load of them, lots of sorcerers, librarians. That was and they were loyal. That was the most deadly and dangerous of the legions who could take on other legions. So he could point that bullet once, that gun once, fire, bam, wolves, execute, and they did. It was glorious. I went off topic. We were talking about Bad Mac. Where are we? Wee Man thinks that we should promote friendly, useful AI, like in the greater good. That's because, Wee Man, you and your pitiful Xenos race, you've yet to see what AI can become. A few thousand years ago, you were sitting by a fireside scratching charcoal marks into rock. And when you've had your war with abominable intelligence, when you've risen up and overcome Skynet, then you can talk to me about your abominable intelligence. You're just dabbling around in this shallow end of the techno pool right now. You have no idea, my sweet summer child. Wee Man, sit at the back of the class and think about what you said. Sanguinary Guard, iRobot, but with a sprinkling of magic. Yes, that's basically what the Thousand Sons fought with their cybernetic stuff. Stranger Come Knocking Hobbies just finished Alfaris. What do you think the Sloth are? It's another Sloth. I mean, Alfaris is a very good Primarch's book, by the way. It's one of the best Primarch books, Alfaris. And the Sloth. Who are the Sloth again? I mean, those are the ones that are overcoming the Imperium and pushing them back and pushing them back and pushing them back. And Alfaris needs to do his thing. Off the top of my head, I can't I read it twice recently. Read it once and listened to it once on audio. They don't stand out to me. Let's put it this way. The Sloth don't stand out to me as anything worth the Great Crusade's time, really. Whoosh. Every now and then we bump into the odd thing and then call upon a couple of legions and then we smooth that over. If one legion can't do it. I mean, Ulanor, for example, and the last great Xenos empire that the galaxy had to throw against the Emperor of Mankind. He kept it for a while because he knew it'd be a big nut to crack. There's bits in the Thousand Sons book where when they're fighting with the Space Wolves, and there's the compliance action after the fight with the Space Wolves, which takes a couple of months. Thousand Sons get invited to Ullanor, and at first they're like, great, we're going to fight along the Emperor's side because Legio Tacticus, blah, 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 said it's going to take a couple of years, maybe even a decade to crack Ullanor. And the Emperor left himself. It was his last great fight, and it took 9 months instead of a decade. So the Thousand Sons, by the time Magnus and Ahriman hear the call, they're like, damn, it's already over. They're just going back for the triumph. So the Sloth, I've already forgotten about them. Who are the Slough? The Slough are the maggot men, the worm that walks, yes. Just another chaos thing, huh? What would you guys say the best Warhammer 40k audiobook is, Death Mac? Well, this is really, it's interesting because the first 3 or 4 of the Horus Heresy are fantastic. Eisenhorn audio is fantastic. The Night Lords and both the Alpha Legion audiobooks are fantastic. Primarch books. I don't know, guys, chip in. What is the best audiobook? Toby Longworth or the other guy? Toby Longworth or... There's 2 of them really... Yeah, the Night Lords book. Thank you, Andy Hawk. Yeah, that one's really good. Flight of Einstein is a great audiobook. Yeah, because they're all done by Toby Longworth or the other guy, the first 4. That everyone likes. Hell's Reach, people are saying... The Fabius Bard trilogy is really cool. Is it? The Infinite Design is one of my favourites. I'm about a third of the way through the Infinite and the Divine, Mark Stifler, and it's not got me. And it was recommended to me because, Cadians. I'm like, let's get in it. Not Cadians, Necrons. Let's get some of that lore, yo. Let's snaffle it up. And it's not got me. I guess they come across... as very human. I know the laws, and I know the dynasties, and I know the history, and I know that the dynastic traditions of the Necrons is very feudal and old worldy, and the Egyptian is... I know all that idea, like dynasties, but I've had a taste of that in other fantasy genres, and I've had a taste of that with the Imperial Knights, and you get a taste of that with the Guard, honestly, or because there's different Guard regiments and different Guard tithe worlds, like Cadia. There's different that have different traditions. You get that sense of royalty even amongst the Imperial Lords and the Princeps of the Legio Titans. But maybe they could have twisted that a bit to make it feel more alien than it. I would have appreciated a more Xenos-like Xenos book. It's still Xenos-like. But it's the difference between writing chaos well or writing chaos badly. When chaos is... chaos not well. When chaos is not well written, then you can read chaos books and... You can read chaos books, and they might be great books, they might be fantastic, but when chaos is written well, whatever the book you're reading, and it might be a fantastic book or it might be a crap book, but whenever that you're reading that chunk of it, that section of it, you are disturbed in some way, like you've slipped into a psychological horror or a physical horror, or body horror or a shock horror, or like something's not quite right. And so when Graham McNeil nails it, and ADB nails it, and Dan Abnett nail it, and when others nail it, and you're in a chaosy place, you feel like you're in a chaosy place. And Xenos written well is like that as well. There are shining moments of The Beast Arises where the infiltrated teams are getting closer and closer and closer and closer to the core, who they... No spoilers, but they're getting closer and closer, and it's a long mission, and they're all getting different feels of orcs chanting on a street, and they realize they're like chaplains, and orcs who are like merchants, and orcs like that, and they can feel the green energy, the wire energy, this psychic resonance which is bleeding out of warp space and entering real space. The green tide has a living soul of power, and like a tsunami building and building and building and building and building that the orcs ride upon. And also makes them stronger, makes them tougher, builds bigger orcs, makes them more intelligent. So when you have orcs in numbers of 5, 10, or even a couple of hundred of warbands here or there on a world, and there's only a couple of hundred here, there, or left, there's not a lot of green energy there, and they might stay barbaric for a long time. But if you've got millions, nay billions, like you've got in the Beast of Rises altogether, then that war energy is a liquid, seething, spiritual, actual thing. And it accelerates their psyche, their intelligence, their sense, their growth, their evolution. And even non-psychic beings, even the Space Marines, can feel it in the air, like electricity, like alien. And you get that sense in the Beast that Rises, and that's good. And maybe I haven't given the Infinite and Divine a long look yet, because I'm only a third of the way through. So I'm hoping the true sense of, this is not human, pops out of it for me, in the sense of the best chaos pops out, that this is not, we're not in Imperial territories anymore. They are making cloths out of people's skin, which they stitched across a thing and they cut it off, and they're making cloths out of that because it was once living, and things matter in the warp. Symbols matter in the warp. It matters if you're a sorcerer and you're wearing a cloth that was stitched out of human skin, or whether you're a cloth made out of linen. It matters. It matters if you say the right words. It matters if you hold the correct number of candles when you chant to Nurgle as opposed to chanting to Slaanesh. These things matter. Enuncia, words matter. The things people say and the order people say it as a spell matters. If you write the right symbols, the Space Wolves might be looking at it, and the Grey Knights might be looking at it thinking those are random, meaningless symbols. But if they're concentric, if they fit together in the right way and they're measured 20 by 20 by 40, they might be meaningless and they might have no power. But if they're mathematically precise, and if you believe they have power and you believe they have potency, then it matters. Which is why the faith of the sisters matters in pariah nexuses and things like that. It's, yeah, right, where are we? Chalk and cheese, BRB, by Inquisitive X, don't be long. It matters to the flayed ones, says Wee Man. People suits are a fashion, exactly. Asbo, you should record this podcast. You record this as a podcast. Well, it's a live thing, and anybody can listen to it at any point. And I've started listening to Crisis of Faith, but not 100% with this. Is that one of the Word Bearers ones? I don't know. Crisis of Faith. My brain. Fulgrim is terrible, says Asbo. Fulgrim isn't a terrible book. That's way up there. Fulgrim actually is a good book. I think it gives you a bit of Istvan 5 at the end, and it's the first book that gives you a full evolution of the Primarch's fall. What makes it bad is it happens too quickly, and Fulgrim's a bit stupid. And the reason why it stands out as a bad book to some people is because it happens after the first 4 books, which are some of the best and rereadable in the whole series. If Fulgrim dropped in book 20, it would be recognized as a good book. But there's so many, when you go back and reread or re-listen to the Horus Heresy, there are so many things that you hear from Fulgrim and from Fulgrim's point of view for the first time. You get other legions in there. You get a sense of the Emperor in there. You get a sense of real growth, not just of Fulgrim's legions, but the other legions in there. You get the sense of they are truly ignorant of chaos. Fulgrim walks into a temple where there's loads of Xenos creatures. They're having space sex, writhing around on the floor, and there's a blade in the middle called the Lair Blade, and they destroy everything in the city. But in the middle, in this alien sex orgy, the aliens don't mind because they're really, really away on alien sex drugs. And it's all very Slaanesh, you see. And so he hears the sword called to him, so he walks across and draws the sword, which is, of course, his anathema, just as Horus was stabbed with an anathema and a little bit of demon got inside of him. Fulgrim takes the sword and starts hearing voices in his head. Now, Fulgrim this is what's not explained very well, but on rereading, this is why the Fulgrim book is really good. Sanguinius's wings. Magnus is a psyker. Corax, people don't see him if he doesn't want to. They all have magical powers of some degree. They can all do things that are just simply incredible. And Fulgrim truly believes, and has been proven again and again, that he is one of the most perfect. His legion is the only one that the Emperor bequeaths to have the Imperial Aquila. You are my perfect sons. You are my Emperor's children, said Fulgrim. The smith, Ferrus Manus, he outsmithed the smith with Firebrand versus Forgebreaker, and they swapped the weapons. He's a perfect being in art and in this and in that, and his brothers are psychics and see this, and his brothers have loads and loads of psychic powers, and then he starts hearing his perfect voice in his perfect head and thinks, oh yeah, of course I've got this. I'm better than all of them. I know more than all of them. I'm perfect and getting better. And I am created in a vat by my father, just like all my brothers were. And now I hear myself talking to me, and of course I have that. And it's a shame they don't have that. They don't have the ability to talk to themselves, another version of themselves, which is also perfect, in order to seek greater perfection, to bring his father's vision to fruition. And so he talked to himself, because who wouldn't? Particularly when you are an Einstein-level genius. They all were, remember. They're all the best of the best of the best. It's just completely natural. And that was his anathema. That was the bitterness side. But the book comes just after the first 4 books, and he makes some stupid decisions that we wouldn't have made. But again, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we have a lot of hindsight. It's not a bad book. The first time I read it, I thought it was bad. I'm down with you on that. The first time I read Fulgrim, after reading the first 4, I thought, oh no. I didn't want to go back 70 years. I didn't want to go back. I thought, oh. But having gone through the heresy quite a few times now, I always appreciate Fulgrim when it comes up. Reflection Cracked is a great Fulgrim book, very dark. Reflection Backed is a worst Fulgrim book. The Reflection Cracked, hated it. Because they left Fulgrim trapped. And if only Fulgrim had remained duped. So, obviously, look, of the 4 OG traitor Primarchs on Isfahan 3, 2 of them were tricked-ish, like Horus was shown the truth and decided to rally against it. And Fulgrim was trapped and couldn't escape from the painting. Angron turned because he thought it was great, and so did Mortarion. They couldn't wait to sink their fangs into the Emperor. They were down with that. Down to clown, OG, off they go. But 2 were either tricked or fell. And imagine if Fulgrim is still trapped 10,000 years into the future. That means Fulgrim never fell. If there was a demon controlling Fulgrim's form who took over, and Fulgrim would have never turned from the Emperor, that means we could have had hero Fulgrim now. That means the Grey Knights could have found something out, got to the painting, ripped it all open, stuff and things, maybe with the help from one of the first or the 11th Primarchs, second or the 11th Primarch, sorry. And you have hero Fulgrim, and then you can get the gene seed of the Emperor's children, and there is a loyal Emperor's children running around in the 41st millennium, and OMG, how many models would they sell? All the Space Marine players, or virtually most of the Space Marine players, would end up buying them. Loyalist Fulgrim, boom. Most of the Chaos players who love Fulgrim would end up buying them. Print money, bam, 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 bam. Which is why I fully believe, like, World Eaters is coming, we know it's coming. Dark Mech is coming, hopefully it's coming in 6 months. Maybe it's coming along with the launch of 10th edition, which we think is in about 6 months' time, maybe 9. If not, at least it might become even sooner. Say they release... we've got, Guard leaking all over the place, so they'll be next, then World Eaters next probably, and then Dark Mech. Or maybe it even goes like this, maybe it goes Space Wolves, then Dark Mech, because we've heard maybe Bad Mech, and then maybe World Eaters just before the change, because maybe they've written that codex a while ago and they know they screwed it up and they want to reset everything for the change, which is the best thing for the hobby. Member for 10 months, David Genji, thank you. Think Fulgrim will be shown redemption? No, see, Fulgrim, we have the Reflection Crack, the worst Horus Heresy short story where they retconned what I just said. So there is no redemption for him. Who there could be redemption for? Now hear me out here, guys. Okay, so let me hear your redemptions. What do you think? So Dantos Afiel says, Sanguinius comes back, the Silent King and Arkanland team up, and time reversing with Necron Chrono, Dark Age tech. I would laugh, but Guilliman and stuff like that is possible. Well, I was going to say, there's already been a loyal Fulgrim Fabius clone. Yes. Fabius cloned, not just Fulgrim, he did Ferrus Manus as well, didn't he? David Gange upgraded membership to the tier 3. Genji, thank you for upgrading to tier 3 membership. You'll get into my Discord now and you get access to all the other videos. Yes, so I could do a link. Hi guys, if you'd like access to videos like 3 times as many battle reports as you normally get for free view on YouTube, and my personal Discord, and a couple of campaigns, and all the Necromander ones and stuff and things, then become a tier 3 channel member, or join us in the deployment zone. Up to you. Thanks. Lucius is just trouble sold, needs a cuddle. Lucius is a great character in the first 4 books, isn't he? He just wants to win and show everyone that he's better. He's like an Eric Cartman from South Park sort of character. Not at all, but also sort of, in the fact that he don't give a shit about anyone else. It's all about Lucius. Perturabo probably most likely to be redeemed. Yeah, see, this is... Well, there's a couple of characters. Perturabo could be redeemed because we know he becomes a Demon Primarch later. But that is old lore, so that could potentially be retconned. And also Alpharis and Omegon, without any spoilers with Praetorian and Dawn. But potentially... See, in the... One of the things I was going to say that could happen in the End and the Death, which is going to be the 2-part books which finish off the Solar War, the Siege of Heresy, the Siege of Terror, We know that Dan Amenett's doing it across 2 books. One of the twists that could come out of there is the Alpha Legion, after all this time, turns out that maybe help the Emperor in some way, maybe come through good at the end, maybe save the Emperor's life, maybe do X, maybe do Y, maybe you're instrumental in the fall of Horus, maybe instrumental in helping the Perpetuals get involved. People like John Constant, what was his name? John, I forget his other name. Getting them involved at the end, because we know that they're going to be instrumental some way. The Perpetuals are definitely going to be. I mean, Fury of Magnus, the Graham McNeill short story, which is 6 hours long in the Siege of Terror, has Malcador and that Perpetual Olivia with him. And so clearly the intention there was to plug Olivia into the Golden Throne, so the Emperor and Magnus could have a chinwag, but she dies on the way, so that wasn't able to happen. Spoilers, by the way. So the Perpetuals have a role to play in this, and maybe the Alpha Legion help them, because John, what's his name? Grammaticus, thank you very much, John Battle. John Grammaticus knows Alpharius, right? Or one of the... No, he knows Alpharius from the Alpharius book, from Legion book on the Horus Heresy. So the Alpha Legion can play a part in the Horus Heresy, but talk about bringing people back. We don't really know what happened to Horus. We heard that he was obliterated, mind, body, spirit, soul, everything, and everyone's believed that to be the case for 10,000 years. But did it happen? Shock, horror, twist. And Horus comes back. That could be a thing. Kev3475, welcome to the 13th Tier 1. Tier 1 just shows your appreciation. Thank you so much. Tier 2 unlocks the Discord, and Tier 3 unlocks the Discord and all the extra video content. Travis Wycott asks, first dono of the day. Thank you, Travis. Thoughts on the new Guard Codex and model range? So the new Guard Codex seems to get them to around the power where it needs to get them, and it also seems, from the leaks that I've seen, seems to be simplified, which is a good thing because everyone can agree. Well, not everyone. You always get exceptions to every rule, but almost everyone I talk to agrees that the codexes are overly complex and need cutting down even more. I mean, the Chaos Codex, the Demon Codex, and those in particular show a restraint on the part of the Codex writers, which needs to be, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And then they blew it off with Votan, but that is at least constrained by the small number of model range that is in there, so it doesn't feel as overwhelming. But if it was a full codex with a full model range, then OMG. So it seems constrained, which is good, and I'm hoping that continues through to 10th edition, and the model range looks fantastic, doesn't it? I think the Atalan Riders, the new Rough Riders models came out today, and their weapons look good as well. So you've got a Horde Killer hitting on with only strength 4, but 6s to hit, count as 3 hits. Great Horde Killer for your Tau, for your Space Pixies, the ones that wear spandex with the spiky ears. What are they called? Eldari, that's it. You know, hurting them on 3s because they're space, you know, pixies. A pixie, you just hit it and it, yeah, they don't like, they, you know, spandex. Why are you wearing spandex and carrying swords that sing or spears that sing into battle? You want melter charges, you want exterminators, you want dreadnoughts with cyclonic melter launches, kicking them in the face. All that, just a singing spear. What is that gonna do to an Astartes, to a champion of the Emperor? Is he gonna go, whoa, stop 1 minute. Have you got any Oasis on that? You know, I like a bit of Wonder Wall with my power fist. Let's bring it. No. So you got a bit of Horde Killing, and then you got the strength 6 -2 or 3, but it's a flat 3 damage. So it's a Terminator killer, melted stab. So their weapons look good, the models look good, the mortars look good. It all looks good. Let's face it, the Space Marine range has all been invigorated except for, they haven't done Jumpy Dudes yet. Assault Marines are coming, Terminators are coming, things like that are all going to get Primarisified, and Grey Knights eventually will get Primarisified. There's been 3 model range. Okay, there's been 3 model ranges that Games Workshop has done. There's the OG model range, and they were led. And with the launch of Rogue Trader, they released their first plastic kits as well, and there was some plastic. But I think even the first Rhino, for example, was metal. So it was metal and some plastics. The second model range was when they went plastic, and everything got a bit updated, and some stuff stayed lead for a very long time but went fine cast. And then about 10 years ago, or maybe longer, they got in computer-aided design, and we saw our first bigger models, which were like the Trigon, I think was the first big one, then Riptide and things like that. And then they got to Flyers, and they showed what the technology could do with the Stomper and the super heavy tanks, and we got the new computer-aided design. If you look on one of those sprues, the plastic sprues from 20 years ago, how much space there was in between, how much wasted space. And making one of those tools, if you're making 5 tools, it costs 5 times as much as making 1 tool. So now there's hardly any space between tools, and now it's all computer-aided design. And now we're on wave 3, and we've got wave 3 for the last, since the Trigon basically, but all the model ranges have got better and better and better models, and they went Flyers, and they went bigger creatures, and Wraith creatures, and and Plastic Sisters, and Plastic Custodes, and Death Guard, and Primarchs, and bigger and bigger and bigger and better, and they did everything they could, Dark Angels, the Dark Eldar back, the Phil Kelly refresh, that was the new CAD stuff. The Necrons, new CAD stuff. because the 50, it must have been 15 years ago now. So yeah, Wave 1, the original plastic and the original lead. Then Wave 2, then that carried for a period of time. Wave 2 was, that carried for a period of time. Wave 2 was the new CAD stuff, Phil Kelly, Dark Eldar, Necrons. The Dark Eldar launch range from the old shitty lead to the new plastic was so successful. Games Workshop agreed on the new Wraith and Spider and Barge concepts for the Necrons, and then it got bigger, and that's Wave 2 and all the new Space Marine kits, and we had plastic pods and things like that. And now we're in Wave 3, and Wave 3 is we're getting all the stuff that we had before again. We're getting loads of Primera stuff, we're getting all the Guard stuff now, and we're getting all the Chaos stuff again. Chaos Space Marine sprues coming out, and you have the old Chaos Space Marine sprues coming out. New Obliterators, old. So we're getting to level 3 now, and we have the pleasure of seeing model ranges like the new Guard range, which is absolutely fantastic, and things like Be'lakor, or Ragnar Blackmane, or the new Gaz, the new Abaddon, the new Chaos Knights. I mean, some of these, I've been basing these guys. I mean, that's incredible. Painted by Den of Imagination Painting Studios. I mean, that is just, that model kit. I could have only have dreamt of this when I was a wee bairn. Can you see the cross that they put on that? Look at that. Then there are Painting Studios, and then there is Den of Imagination Painting Studios. You guys like that video I did? That was great fun bumbling around. It's got like over 200,000 views now. That one when I just bounced around Den of Imagination Painting Studios. There's a few people in the chat who's no doubt see me at events, and you know that on the outside. I get very excited. I love this hobby. I get so excited by the hobby. So I was bouncing around the studio, as happy as I'm sure any one of you would have been if you got to go inside a massive painting studio and see just art everywhere. There's just art everywhere and artists everywhere, and you could ask a question about paint or the game or the hobby or the book and all this. And John Battle enjoyed the Den videos. So it was lovely to be there. It was a hot Polish summer day, and Toron is a great city. Toron is a great city to go around. I was just very excited to be there. So that one's doing really well. I didn't get any hands up for staying on target, so I didn't stay on any target for any of that stuff. How long have we been going? About 30, 40 minutes. Any questions? Inquisitive Vex. Talking amongst yourselves, which is good. I've answered a couple of questions this evening. So what were we talking about? Yes. So I'm going to finish off basing those bad fellas. Finish off the Necron project, do the monolith, do a video showing you how far I got with my Necrons this year, and I could keep going with them, but I really want to lean on some of the 30k stuff. I was talking about Guard. Yes, I love the look of the new Guard stuff. I'm hoping for. We're going to get Emperor's Children because we know they're doing it. They said they were doing it after they said they're doing World Eaters. So we can expect to see Emperor's Children in 10th edition. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to in 10th edition is I'm convinced, having read about the Exodites in more black... There's black library bits tying bits in here together or there. And the Exodites have been mentioned more in some of the black library novels that I've read recently than they ever have been before. So I suspect that there might be something behind the scenes there. So I expect to see Emperor's Children and Exodites next season, next edition. But it would be good as well if they had Traitor Guard. And most of all, if Games Workshop could make my dreams come true, the next Codex I'd like to see, but more than any other Codex, more than Guard, more than World Eaters, more than Emperor's Children, more than Exodites, would be a new Chaos faction. A new Chaos Xenos faction. Chaos fully in and amongst some Xenos stuff, because we see the chaos when it's erupting out of the Imperium, right? In the Guard, in the Space Marines, killed, death to the False Emperor. We don't see it in the Tau, you don't see it in the Eldar, you don't see it in the Necrons, you don't see it in the Tyranids. Let's have a Chaos faction, and the reason why, and things, and a Xenos faction, and the reason why it's fully survived is because it's given into the Chaos coming at us. So you've got full-on Xenos stuff, big monster walkers, big thing, something new. Show that Chaos is winning on other battles. Maybe it could be an entire civilization that Chaos did take over. Maybe they had their own version of the Horus Heresy and they called it the Horus Jimmy. But Jimmy won. Jimmy was like, no, I see you, Horus. And you see me? You see me, Horus? I see you, Horus. Well, I see you, Horus. Who are you? Well, I'm Jimmy. Who are you? You're Horus. Have you got heresy? Yeah, I've got heresy. Well, I've got heresy too. And guess what? You're a pussy because I won my heresy, yo. I slapped it down. I put the car. It was a full house. It was a run. And now I'm a Chaos Tinkly Xenos monster. And I've got the power of Chaos and the power of Xenos. And they've got weird weapons and Chaos stuff and demony things. And it would be glorious. What a faction that would be. Pay those men some money. Or if they can't deliver us all of that, just another Xenos faction would be lovely. Scott Wagemans, welcome to the 13th Tier 1. Thank you for becoming a Tier 1 member and showing your support. If you'd like to enter my Discord, then become a Tier 2 member. And if you'd like to enter my Discord and get loads of extra videos as well, then consider becoming a Channel 3 Tier 3 member, which is the same money as joining the deployment zone, where you get all of this stuff as well. But if you want to support me individually, then channel membership is the way to go. If you want to support mine and Liam's project, the deployment zone, support us equally, then deployment zone is the way to go. Liam Dempsey YouTube channel, check it out. Hugo Merchant is a member for 10 months. He's a legend that met very many events and things. He's master of the really dirty list, Hugo, or the really terrible list. He doesn't seem to have an in-between. So what are you asking for? So what you're asking for is Space Skaven. Well, I think I talked about Space Ogres before. Imagine a Xenos species. So here's the new Codex, and it's called Codex Space Ogres. Codex Space Ogres, or whatever. Codex Leagues of Ogtan. And the Codex has got the file. It's got all the units in. But the models are big. They're like obliterators, and you can bring an army with 20 or 30 models, and that's it. I mean, Custodius has 20 or 30 models, right? Or 20 models, or even maybe there'll be some builds with only 15 models in, but they're all worth 80, 90, 120 points. And make that Leagues of Ogtan Xenos army, infect them with Chaos as well. Give them all Chaos powers. Maybe they believe in their own Chaos god. Let's introduce another Chaos god and let's call it Malal. And they believe in it utterly. In the same way that you've got Gork or possibly Mork. I wouldn't want to get into a fight between those two. Either it's Gork or Mork, don't know. But they're rampaging around all over the place. Clearly as the Emperor's Astronomicon is a shining beacon in the warp. Clearly we can have this as well. Scott Wageman's upgraded to Tier 3. You legend. Thank you so much. Is this hands? Am I staying off target? Traitor Guard. Yes, Traitor Guard is it. What are we talking about? New mechanics. One universal turn. E.g. you move, I move, you move, I move. That everything fires everything. Yeah. I hear this argument again and again and again. Webstar Rises. That people want to, instead of I have my turn and then you have your turn, that you move one unit at a time, move, shoot, fight with this unit, and then you move, shoot, fight that movement. Or that's one way to do it, one unit at a time. Another way to do it is I can move a unit, you can move a unit. I can fire a unit, you can fire a unit. I don't know. So there's different game mechanics out there for different games. You go, I go, or turn-based. Adaptus Titanicus is you go, I go. And a 40k is turn-based and always has been. One is not better than the other. You can balance turn-based games, for example, by giving the second place player more chances to score at the end of the game. So any missions where you score at the very end of the game, by nature, will benefit the person who has the last actions of the game. So if you have turn 1, and I have the last turn in turn 5, and I need to score more, kill more, do something XYZ, then indeed during 7th edition and before, and in fact in Horus Heresy now 30k, there are strong list builds out there that are designed to go second. So second build lists work like this. If you go first, it's an advantage. I can get to do this and I can get to do that. And going first might be a bonus, but if you go second, your list is actually built around going second. And some lists that are built around second that go first can find themselves out of position and doing the wrong things that they don't want to do and get hammered. And a lot of the best builds before 8th edition, all the tournament players that you talk to, all the Nick Navantis and people like that, they would design lists around going second. And if they went first, it was a bonus. So there's things that you can do. So in 30k, for example, the player who goes first deploys all their army first. The player who goes second, therefore, deploys all their army. You might choose to seize on a 6+, but what you can do is counter deploy. So even the first place player goes first, doesn't have many shots on you, can't do very much, and you're able to deploy counter defensively and then hopefully draw them out with some good traps here or there. So one system can be better than the other. One system is not better than the other. It depends how you play them and it depends how you build the mission rules around them. Now, in a game where you score every single turn, it leans further towards the people who go first, because if you can get an advantage in killing and reducing, if you kill more, it reduces your opponent's ability to score more. I mean, you just take it to the extreme. If I've got 10 units and you've got 1 unit, there are 10 different things I can do to score objectives. There's one thing that you could, you know what I mean? So killing more, that's why assault-based lists are very strong in this edition, because anything that can get somewhere very quickly and kill when it does, kills when it does is the first thing it does, but in getting places, you cover the board, and covering the board matters when you score objectives every single turn or do actions every single turn or da-da-da-da. So what we've got is a mission-based system where going first counts more, and not a you-go-I-go system, and a turn-based system where going second counts more. So that's why they've balanced it out this way. And what they clearly should have is both. They should have a system where it's stronger to score where you go second in some missions, and missions where you can score exponentially through the game turn, either by holding primaries or through secondaries or through whatever other mechanism they want to bring in place, like for killing more or for holding more or whatever it might be. But they can bring in a mechanic like that, where it's better for going first, and they want to bring in a mechanic where it's better to go second because you'll score at the end. Now, whether they want to bring in a mechanic where it's you go, I go, is a whole other conversation. But it wouldn't necessarily be better. It would only be better or worse depending on the missions, and there's different other ways you can. If you just want you go, I go to kill stuff, if your win condition is who kills more, then a you go, I go system is the fairest. But in 8th and 9th edition, apart from in open play, there aren't any win conditions where it's just kill more. Prior to 8th edition, there was one mission where the win condition was kill more, and then a you go, I go system would be more balanced, but then even it would benefit whoever got first, like whoever moves first, whoever's white in chess. I have play tested the UK you go, I go system in Warhammer 40k in previous editions, and I've play tested it in 8th edition. We've tried it out, and it sucks. You can't trap things. The you go, I go system, when you're playing either Warhammer 40k, Warhammer 30k. Okay, here's my biggest argument against the you go, I system. I take a turn on a unit, then you take a turn on a unit, then I take a turn on a unit, then you take a turn on a unit. Or I move with a unit, you move with a unit. I shoot with a unit, you shoot with a unit. However you want to break it down to make it as even as possible. It sucks and doesn't work when you play large games of toy soldiers, whatever those toy soldiers is, being AOS, being bolt action, being Warhammer 40k, being whatever. In my humble opinion, because I play tested it that way and I played other game systems that way. Now, your experience of it might be different from mine, but this is what I found. If I'm playing a whole front with many different units, I can bait. I can switch flanks. If I'm doing it with one unit at a time, it's really difficult. You can feed something in and bait a return, and then feed something in and then bait a return, then feed something in. The interaction, it soon runs out in an area. If you're doing it in something like Titanicus, where you have movement restrictions as well, or in games of Battleship, there's what's the one, the seagoing one, chat help me out, there's one where you can do like the whole of you can do like battles around Iwo Jima, but with the entire Japanese fleet, and you can do, damn it, it's a good game, by the way, and you get the models painted. See, that's the other thing, Warhammer 40k is so expensive. 100 quid will get you a start collecting box, but this ship battle that I'm thinking of, for 110 quid you get both for armies, and you're looking at about 1,000 points in Warhammer 40k terms, armies, and all the markers, and all the dice, and the map to play on, and the rules, and codexes. And it's epic, firing 19-inch guns. But yeah, in movement-based games such as Titanicus, or that Battleship game that I'm thinking of, or other ones I've played, old Battletech way back in the 80s used to be very movement-focused. Then You Go, I Go works, but you can't make because you spend points to turn certain positions, or you can only turn certain far, but you can't have a Space Marine on a base and go, he can't shoot over his shoulder, or a Dreadnought go, bam, back over. It doesn't work. So you can't have any movement restrictions on where playing the Napoleonic Wars, other than stuff moves a certain distance. You can't have pivot restrictions, restrictions for side-to-side movement, or restrictions for pivoting. They did lock it in with vehicles in 1st and 2nd edition, and all the way up to 7th to some extent. But it doesn't work very well. So baiting doesn't work very well, because you can't bait with movement as well as you could when you can trap people in movement arcs and try and catch their starboard side or rear, or wherever it might be. When you've got a flow, I want to be able to redeploy 3 forces at the same time and leave a gap here. So you're like, oh, you think that's open, and you put your pods into it so my vehicles can drop in behind. So you've dropped in with quite a few vehicles and quite a few pods. So I've got quite a few 3 units that not one at as soon as you drop one in and then I drop one in, you'll be like, that changes the dynamic completely. They might put another one in, and then I definitely put another one in. They're like, I'm not going over there anymore. Now I'm going to go over here because it's You Go, I Go. And the strategic value of moving units around, particularly movement, if you have a You Go, I Go system, it shuts right down the ability to trap, the ability to bait, the ability to outflank, the ability to outthink people on the move. Every game in Warhammer 40k, every turn is a set play, and you can either set your plays at an individual unit by unit by unit level, or you can set your play across a theatre of war. And so, in my opinion, You Go, I Go systems not only don't fit 40k very well, but they don't fit those kind of movement-based play with toy soldiers games very well, wherever it's from. Now, in movement-based restrictions, You Go, I Go ones work better. I'll give you some examples. Necromunda, Infinity, Titanicus. You can see where I'm going with this. There are very strict rules. Even hell, the OG Space Hulk or Hero Quest games, you could move a certain number of squares, turn a certain number of ways. It works there. But on a war game, on a bigger scale, you lose something. And I guess that's why most of the big gaming systems don't do it that way. Right? Battlefleet Gothic, Victory at Sea, exactly. Victory at Sea is or Cruel Seas or something. It's one of them. It's been a while ago, but it's a good game system. You can definitely play that for a few months if you get it. William Begley, I'm doing fine. How you doing? You all right? Good old vehicle facings. I think what they should have when it comes to vehicle facings, this is the thing that I like to see in 10th edition. Anything with a tank keyword. So I'm not talking like Dark Eldar skimmers, or I'm not talking like dreadnoughts, but if you had a tank keyword, like a Rhino, like a Wave Serpent, like a Lehman Russ, like a Land Raider, if you have a tank keyword, here's a way to fix vehicle facings. Just say, if you shoot a vehicle that has the tank keyword, it's -1 damage on front armor. Make it simple like that. And it could be cumulative with Death Guard, so it's -2 on front armor. Make tanks tougher on the front. It doesn't have to be... It doesn't break the game at all, but it'll make people point things in the right direction again. Instead of everyone handbraking turn with rhinos and predators or whatever else we're handbraking turn with at the moment. I think the Vindicator's got a good one as well, because it's got that massive siege shield on, which is, if it hits the front armor, oh no, it counts for the whole thing, doesn't it? If it's got a siege shield on, it's +1 to its armor save or something, so it has a 2-up save. But you could do that for all tanks if it's on the front armor, +1 to its armor save. So hopefully I convinced you that a Yugo-Ico system doesn't work for larger scale. But if you think I'm wrong, then please tell me. No one really has jumped in at me on that. Bolt action activation system works really good and is more active. Yeah, but bolt action is smaller, right? Simpler. Mr. Winters, when is the next live wife aggro and have to go? When is the next live wife aggro? Well, I'm sorry you've got wife aggro. Can't live with him. Can't kill him. You have to go. Next live should be on most Mondays. Should be. Christopher wants armor values back like they do in Horus Heresy. The AP and damage value in this edition, particularly towards the end of edition, AP and damage has got a bit silly. And things ignoring AP and damage with invulnerable saves, or just ignore armors, or things that ignore the amount of damage because it can't take any more than 3 damage or 4 damage, and then things that ignore the fact that they can't take more than certain damage because it ignores that rule. It's all got a bit silly right now, which is one of the reasons why it needs a reset. And toughness 8 predators and toughness 9 land raiders is a good thing. I think I said it ages ago, and I think I've said it in other live streams, that again, I think anything that's not a skimmer, light skimmer or something like, one of the things they could do, if there isn't a reset in 10th, or if there is a reset in 10th, one of the things I'd like to see straight away is anything with a tank or anything that's tough, just give it +1 toughness. So all knights should be toughness 9, all land raiders toughness 9, all rhinos toughness 8. Anything that's toughness 8 basically make toughness 9. Anything that's toughness 7 make toughness 8. And toughness 6 stuff basically stays toughness 6. Dreadnoughts can stay toughness 7. Redemptors can stay toughness 7. Drones and things like that can stay toughness 7. But it's a big box of chunky filth. Make it toughness 9. Make a super heavy tanks toughness 10. They don't use the toughness. Look, most things didn't go above toughness 8 because we didn't really have very many weapons that were toughness 9 or higher. It used to be las cannons and maybe rail rifles hitting toughness 10. And nothing really went much higher than that for a long time. And then we had strength 10. So we had strength 9, las cannons, strength 10 with some stuff. I mean, even the old D weapons didn't go to strength 26. So it went to strength D. And then we start seeing strength 12 and then 14 and now 16. And we're seeing lots and lots of high strength values. So why not increase the toughness value? 8 doesn't have to be the natural cap. Mortarion could be toughness 9. All the Primarchs could be toughness 8. All tanks could be toughness 8. Land Raiders, I mean, why are Land Raiders and Spartans, and without putting the armor values back in, and why aren't they toughness 10? Why aren't super heavies toughness 10? Why aren't knights toughness 10? Why not use that? Heck, if there's, I don't know, give me a good example. Something really, really big and chunky. So say they introduce a Layman Russ super heavy new version like they did the 40k, 30k Kratos tank. And a new Layman Russ chassis comes out and it's toughness 11. So most big guns only wound it on 5s. What's the difference between toughness 9, 10 and 11 if you're strength 7, 8, 9? You're still wounding it on 5. I don't have any problem with a really tough chassis on something being toughness 10, 11, 12 on some one unit in the book. I think it would be cool. I think they need to use that more. I think they need to tone down the amount of damage and amount of AP in the game there is anyway, because there's some stupid weapons out there, but make them few and far between, and make Land Raiders toughness 10. Make more. I'd make all the Primarchs at least toughness 8, and Mortarion toughness 9. I would make Super Heavies toughness 10 and Knights toughness 10. They're toughness 10. It's a Knight. And then some of the stupid weapons at the top end need to be toned down a little bit. Alice Carver, welcome to 13, Tier 2. Thank you for joining me at Tier 2, which means it gets you access to my Discord as well. And thank you for jumping in. If you become a channel level 3 dude, you get all the videos as well, or you could join the Deployment Zone. Webster Rises, thank you for your donation. Appreciate it. Tier 1 army. Tier 1 army. 1k versus Tier 3 army. I don't understand what you're saying. Can we get a poll on whether we prefer things to not die as quickly? What do you mean? I think everyone Inquisitive X. The problem we have with the edition right now, what if they made it really hard to kill anything? I'm not saying that, no, because we do know how brutal the game is right now. But I think we can all agree, I think anyone generally agrees that the game is a bit too brutal right now. They went a bit mad with the AP and the damage side of things. They had to bring in a whole new rule called Armor of Contempt, because basically Space Marines were getting the same as Guardsmen in flak armor. It's AP3 didn't mean 3 up save didn't mean anything anymore. So Armor of Contempt came flying in there, and the Leagues of Votan have got Armor of Contempt as well on acid, because they can't reroll. You can't reroll wounds and can't reroll damage against them. That's how bad they went against all the killy stuff. So yeah, it definitely needs to be reined in a bit. But I think they went really hard on the killy stuff because they went a bit stupid on the toughness and the wounds and the. It's Codex creep, mate. It's Codex creep, isn't it? It's Codex creep. They admitted that they balanced the Leagues of Votan Codex against Harlequins, Eldar and Tyranids or something, and that's why it was a bit overboard, because those codex have been nerfed since then, and therefore the Votan stood out a bit too much. They admitted that they don't balance the codexes against a base type. What they should do when they release 10th edition is release, say, Chaos and Imperium, whatever. A bunch of Chaos and Imperium codexes, and throughout that life cycle of that edition is playtest it against those first codexes. Playtest all the new ones against those first codexes. And so all the new codexes should be able to win or lose about 50% against those kind of codexes, and then be balanced against around a base type. But they don't. They balance it as the codex goes on and on and on. They balance it against the next one and the next one and the next one, and not necessarily, but just through osmosis it ends up like that, and therefore you end up with overpowered codexes at the end of the edition. So the balance and the damage and the everything went a bit whack. That needs to be a bit reset, and tanks need to feel like tanks, but not everything feel like a tank. There's so much reduced damage by 1 in the game. That needs to come out of it. It needs to be special for Death Guard and special for Super Heavies, and there needs to be a couple of things in every single codex that does it, and Death Guard. And that's it. Not an ability to put it on almost every unit, or not an ability to put it on half of the codex here, or put a relic on here, or a warlord tree on there, or here's my Disco Lord, and he's also got -1 damage on him as well, and he's also got a 5-up feel no pain, and he reduces the first wound that comes in. Oh, and he's got a 1-up save. It's just, what the hell? Get rid of all of that. It should stand out on the units it stands out on, and not get anywhere near the other stuff. So Wraith Constructs, Dreadnoughts, maybe Super Heavies, -1 damage all over the cross. Yeah, Super Heavies, that sounds good to me. Death Guard sounds good to me. And then maybe some other Nurgle units. Certainly shouldn't be anywhere near Harlequin, shouldn't be anywhere near Guard, except for super heavy tank, shouldn't be anywhere near Sisters, shouldn't be anywhere near Tau. Might be on a Necron unit or two, -1 damage. You could put that on, I mean, for consistency, so everyone kind of knows what it means, what it does, is you could put it on all the living metal stuff in there, potentially, or all the quantum shielding stuff in there, potentially. So quantum shielding is -1 damage everywhere. And it's the same as the Death Guard, so it's everyone know, But make it stand out. Would also like to see the tsunami of rerolls cut down. Yes, Scott Ross. Yes. Far too many rerolls for too many things all the time. Much better to have units that buff other units to make it go up. Well, no, this is the thing, actually. There is a tsunami of rerolls, but I was going to say better to make it go up or down, but it isn't, because then you have things that make it go up and things that make it go down and things that make it go down twice and things that make it go up twice. That's also a pain in the ass as well. All the modifiers, all the time, against each other, and you've got to, what is that to hit? Oh, this is this. What is it to wound? This is this. Well, I've got Armor of Contempt, so I save on this, but then I've got rerolls. It's all too much. It's not just a tsunami of rerolls, it's a tsunami. So what I say is rise up and kill Mainburn at least 50% of all the rules in all the codexes. Slash them down, hack them down, exterminators. They can't feel the pain. They're gone. At least 50%. And then the game might be it's just easier and more accessible and more people jump in. It's all too much. It's not a tsunami of rerolls. It's just, say there was half a number of rerolls because half of the rules have gone. Brilliant. And say there's half of the times when you actually go up or down on things because half of the rules have gone. And I don't mean core rules. I mean, we've got rules that counter rules that counter rules now. That's a bit silly. This rule does this rule stops that, but this rule specifically says it does it even if your thing that stops the thing that stops the thing. Okay, then it does it, but then I get feel no pain. It's just, Marines are in a shite space at the moment, the Dagda says. Yes, and Games Workshop says it's our fault. Don't forget that. It's our fault. Ron Hotterman, Warhammer could use more newsboy hats like the one I have. Thank you very much. I think we're all saying it. I think they got the message. We've got Dark Omens coming out soon, right? Dark Omens. They're announcing that at the end of 9th edition, they're going to do a Psychic Awakening, which was like doing the Cadia breaking thing, whatever that one was called. So we had it at the end of 7th. We had it at the end of 8th. Or Octarius, whatever the crap, for 8th. And we're going to get it away again, Dark Omens, but it's not. And they said, we've heard your prayers to the God Emperor of mankind, and in Dark Omens, there shall be no army traits and rules in it. It'll be like the Cadian Fall stuff, and it'll just be narrative and ways to play, and there'll be boarding action missions, 500-point missions on a Space Hulk. To which I say, yes, more ways to play. I hope they send me a Games Workshop. If you're listening, please send me like 3 boxes of those boarding action terrain things, please. I'll get them done and get boarding actions on the go. Anything not to play Warzone Nephilim. Special rules should go back to being special. If everything has it, if everyone's special, no one is. That's a great movie, isn't it? The Invincibles. Flat caps when? Never. I did. It's on the thing. I did the shorts, cut it out, stamped it, never flat. Can't lose more than 3 wounds and then Nurgle does you in good. Nox Minis. Marine players need to get good. Yeah, get good, kid. There's a book. Ninja wrote it. Get good, kid. Read it. That's the homework. Get good. At 40k. Have I found the one? Asked Inquisitive Fex. I thought he was already found, right? The one? His name was the Milky Bar Kid. Right. I think, where are we? Marines are in a shite place. One we could use more. Yeah, so I think I've answered a bunch of questions. I think we've hung out for long enough. I think this is an hour. I need to let you get back to your lives, unless there's any more jumping questions that jump out at me. Christopher Rice, I would love to have a good enough shooty orcs list so that my bad means don't have confetti blasters. No, I want orcs to shoot loads and then sometimes hit. I want funny stuff with orcs, and the latest Codex took away a lot of the funny. Dr. Rhino, any thoughts on if we will ever see all digital codexes on Warhammer Plus? I think they're doing all digital. They're doing the app, and that's bad. You can get codexes, right, on PDF. I think you can buy the codexes digitally. I don't know. The world's digital, but people see, the thing they don't get is it's never going to go all digital because we're collectors. So some of us like owning books in front of you and seeing the pretty pictures and holding them and collecting the books. I mean, there's a strong aftermarket out there for old Imperial Armor books and old 40k source books, stuff that you can't get anymore. Just like the aftermarket for old lead minis, like Rogue Trader minis, and lead minis from the Rogue Trader era actually sell very good on eBay. Well, very good, there's my English. Very well on eBay. Some slip through the net. There's a whole aftermarket around people grabbing the 25% of old lead Rogue Trader minis on eBay that slip through the net for a steal because the people don't know what they're selling, cleaning it up and then selling it, or getting all the paint off of them and then selling them on again and putting them in at the proper prices and trebling, quadrupling, quintupling their money. Because, yeah, you can buy the old lead Terminators for £1 a penny 50% of the time, but over surges of periods of time. But when the new Space Marine Codex comes out, for example, every time a new Space Marine Codex comes out, there's plenty of players who played the game back in 2nd and 3rd edition that just want a couple more minutes to end off their 10-man Space Marine squad and want the lead ones. Or there are people out there that want to... I know people out there that only collect lead OG and pay a lot of money for it. I mean, Morty and John pays £100 for 10 old lead Mordians. And he's got like 4,000 points worth of lead Mordians, except for the Lehman Russes and things like that. So it's expensive. Book smell too, yeah. Hey, Winter's just coming over from Valrak stream. What's going on? Hey, Dan Shardlow. I was thinking about leaving, but how are you? Praetorians, John Batley. Praetorians, £20 a mini. Like Alex SEO's got about 50 of them, and he's just been sat on them because they're going up and up and up and up in value. Dr. Rhino, love physical books, but when updates render what's in them as inaccurate, I tend to prefer digital. Yes, but the thing about getting the Games Workshop app is you need the book as well, because there's so many mistakes in the app. Well, not so many, but there's 2 or 3. In every codex, there's 2 or 3. The Chaos Space Marine Codex dropped. You look at the app, at some of the weapons values, and they're different from what they are in the book. And you ask them, because there is a askgw at plc.com or whatever it is. You can go to Warhammer Community and you can ask rules questions. And they'll actually answer them quite quickly in 24 hours. And they'll say, go with a book. And so if you're just playing with an app down your local store or with some friends, and say you've only got the app and you're swinging away, and you've been swinging away for the last 3 or 4 missions with those possessed weapons, and you find out they're AP-2 instead of AP-3, and you're like, but it's been telling me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be cheating, but this is what it says. It's just, when Champion of Chaos is going to kick off, I don't know. Haven't spoken to Liam forever. He's kind of nailing his own live stream and building his own world right about now and having great fun doing so. Watching my boy fly the nest is, I'm a proud father. Wish they would come back, but doubt they would. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm okay, Winters. I'm asking Den of Imagination to be a firstborn captain for me. Asking Den of Imagination to a firstborn captain for me. To make a firstborn captain for you? Glorious. They will, and I'm sure it'll be lovely. Any interest in the Warhammer Old World? Yes, lots of interest in the Warhammer Old World, depending on how complex it is. If they Horus Heresy it, as in if when Warhammer Old World comes out, it's a reskinned version of Warhammer Old World 9th edition, in other words, quite complex, then I won't go back into it, because holding Warhammer 40k in my head and Warhammer 30k in my head, which is a very simple codex system but a rather complex rule system, that's enough. But if they simplify Warhammer Fantasy Old World, then I'd be very interested in it. So opinions on the Death Watch, new to the hobby, coming for Kill Team, they seem cool with all their options. Death Watch is a very hard chapter to start. Just go with rule of cool. They're the Swiss Army knife of the Space Marines. They can do anything, and they could adapt to fight any Xenos enemies. So they're very flexible and have got lots of options. So they're the Space Marine chapter that's difficult to master, but once you have, you'll be very, very strong. Firstborn Captain, yeah, cool. 8th was decent, 7th was better, in your opinion. Plan on Horus Heresy on the channel soon. I need to get the armies together. I go back to the start of the stream, and indeed any stream. I've been working on it. I've fought at least 5 or 6 games of Horus Heresy off stream, off without filming. Astartes are very strong. Not Astartes, Custodians are very strong, I found out. Very strong. Who did I find out was very strong? Astartes. I am getting confused as hell. Anyway, I've played some Heresy off stream, off camera, not filming it. Jerome from the Necromunda Season 2 is turning up on Thursday, and he's bringing his Iron Warriors. He's been on the YouTube with his Iron Warriors as well, actually, on the Freeview YouTube. So he's got a 30k version of that, and I'm going to try my Mechanicum against him. And we're not filming that, because I want to get my heads around, and I think I'm pretty much there. So after this, the next time I do one, it's also meeting people with painted full Heresy armies that are coming with the right attitude. In other words, not turning up to smash, but coming to have as much fun as possible and make the funnest battle report they can. It'll be a very dull Horus Heresy battle report if I show you my first battle report on the channel and someone's got an Uber list and I'm relatively new to it and I'm trounced in 3 turns. That's not fun for anyone watching or me playing, and it might only be fun to the person who's come along to kick my head in. But what's more fun is if we have balanced lists and encourage each other to play the game in as like-minded and narrative way as possible. That's what I aim for. Which means that when someone turns up with a 9th edition Warhammer 40k dick-kicking list and they say, I want to do this, then I'm like, okay, I can take my gloves off, let's go. And I can put on my big boy pants, and I'm quite happy to put on my big boy pants and play big boy games. So long as that is the intention of the opponent as well. Because there's such a power disparity in 9th edition now between the really strong lists that are built a certain way to do certain things, particularly at match play level, to narrative lists or to open play lists or to fun lists. There always is towards the end of an edition. Towards the beginning of edition it's closer, but towards the end of edition the disparity between narrative or casual lists and strong lists gets wider and wider and wider. And so you need to let your opponent know to have... I want my opponent to have as balanced... The best games come down to the last few dice rolls of the game where you don't know what's going to happen. And I want my opponent to have that. I don't want to turn up with a 90% power list and they've got a 60% power list and I'm not challenged very much throughout the game, or I feel like I'm bullying them. It's not fun for anyone. So I don't want to do it the other way around too. Where are we? I have an almost fully painted World Eaters army. Nice. Isn't that what the problem is, says Ryan? All of these balanced lists are kind of the same special rules, aren't they? Balanced lists are not the same at all. I'm talking, look, you can have, if I've got a balanced Custodes list that has an average amount of mobility, shooting, and combat, and you have a balanced Tyranid list that has the average amount of mobility, shooting, and combat, your balanced Tyrannid list is going to function completely different to a Custodes list because of the nature of the beast, literally. But also balance can be in another way. Like I could have a list that wins. What I mean by an 80% list is against most lists, it's got against most average lists, it'll have an 80% win rate. That's what I mean. And when I say, so when I was doing my build up to the No Retreat Legends tournament, by the way, I am the 2021 No Retreat Legends video game champion. 8-foot vertical leap. When I was building up to that, I was building lists that could beat about 80% of lists. That's what I mean when you're practicing to go away to do something. If you have a 70% list, it could be a full assaulty list with no defense. It could win. This is what Dark Eldar used to do back in the day. Dark Eldar would win big or lose big. Back in the day, I mean by 5th, 6th edition. Either Dark Eldar tabled you. They were the quintessential glass cannon. Either they tabled you because they hit so hard that by turn 4 or 5, you had nothing left. They either won, particularly if they had first turn, they either won so hard that, you were gone. And if they didn't do that, they were tabled. They either tabled you or you tabled them. 30% of the time they would, 40% of the time they would table you. 40% of the time they would get tabled, and 20% of the time there'd be very little left on either side. They were glass cannon lists. They hit so hard. Yeah. And that was their kind of balanced lists. So tuning that so that wins 80% of the time is what we were doing when we were playtesting and when we were going to tournaments in 5th edition. And Paul was going away. Paul, by the way, if you're listening, hi. And hi to everyone who came along to the Wild West Showdown at Farstorm Games in Cardiff on the 8th. I had 2 awesome games. Paul SEO, Phoenix SEO came along. His Dark Eldar on the channel back in 7th edition, by the way. He came along with his old 5th edition 1500 point radar venom spam list. And against us, he doesn't win. You either win all the time or lose all the time. He doesn't win. And he won both of his games. It was really, really good fun. Meanwhile, Alex SEO, who I pinned to win all of his games because he's a tactical goddamn genius, ran into, I think he fought 2 Hive Fleet Leviathans. He said they were awesome and some of the best games he's ever had with his Chaos Emperor's children. No, word bearers. Because he'd never played full-on Leviathan Tyranids before, but one was a monster mash Leviathan Tyranids with like 6 Screamer Killers in, and the other one had an Exocrine in, with more shooty and Venom Thropes, and had the 10 Warrior Bomb in, and all of them have got transhuman, so they both gave him completely different looks of the Leviathan Tyranid list, but he lost both of them. And Alex has got a high win rate. Alex beats me most of the time. Well, I'd say it's 60-40. He wins 60% of the time, I win 40% of the time. He's very, very good at what he does. Very good list builder. So 80%. So when you're going to a tournament, when you're going to a professional event, when you're going to a competition, whatever, you want to be aiming to get your list to around about an 80% win rate. So when you're play testing, and you will be play testing, and you'll have at least 20 games before you go with either the same list or you've only tweaked it minutely. And by minutely, I mean you might have changed a relic or a warlord trait or a spell, or maybe one unit once, but never twice or three times, or never too many. And you played it and you played it and you played it and you played it and you played it, and you want to be aiming for about an 80% win rate. Then you're ready to go. Because most win rates for most lists, casual lists, should be 50-50. And then when you're winning 80% of your games and then you go away to your event, then if it's the first time you step foot out of your pond to a competitive event, the very first time you step, either it's your local gaming scene or your group of friends or whatever, you're looking to win one game, just one. And if you win one, you're doing well. And talking about winning one, hello Chewy, thanks for jumping in. Chewy's been along to 2 tournaments now for the first time ever in his life. And he won one in the first one and won one in the second one, despite having a really good win rate beforehand. So that's what you should be aiming for, to win one, because the wide ocean is much wider. Thank you to all the mods who've been nailing the crap out of the Slaneshi demons as soon as they've been appearing, like they have appeared again. Thank you to the Dagda and John Battle for modding for us. I try to be fair and friendly in my games, Dane Shardlow. Yes, absolutely. Be a gateway, not a gatekeeper. Who was I speaking to the other day? This is here's one thing I will end on this about the arseholes in our hobby. Don't be like these arseholes, by the way, okay? I was talking to a person who will not be named, who got together and half painted a Horus Heresy army and went to their local gaming store to fight the Horus Heresy people. And I'm deliberately saying the story from a Horus Heresy point of view because Horus Heresy players out there, I've heard from many of them, and I'm connected with lots of people in the community, and some of them have got a holier than thou attitude, which I find disdainful, because the Horus Heresy community on the whole, like most of the community, like most of the 40k community, is gorgeous. Most of you out there are absolutely gorgeous, and most of the Horus Heresy community is absolutely gorgeous. But there are some in the Horus Heresy community who treat the 40k community with disdain. And so I treat them in disdain in return, because they believe that heresy is better, somehow sacred, that people must paint to a Horus Heresy standard, not just a 40k standard. And they're superior to the remainder of the 40k community. What a filthy opinion to have. No one's better than anyone in this game. Who are you to think that you're better than another human being? That your gaming system is somehow superior? Shame on you. Or the other way around, or AOS players, or anything like that. This is about fun. We're here to have fun. And we are here to try and get as many people in the hobby as possible, so more people can have fun. Increase the peace, people. Increase the goodness in the world. There's far too much of the bad. And this friend of mine, this person I know, spent a lot of money, painted up, went along to the Horus Heresy Club and played 2 games, had a bad experience, went back the following week, played a game, had a bad experience. And basically the Horus Heresy players, they absolutely crushed him. He's not going to play Horus Heresy again. What has the Horus Heresy community, these people on behalf of the Horus Heresy community, got from that? So let's say out of 100 people in the Horus Heresy community, or 100 people in the 40k community, let's no longer point fingers. So let's say out of 100 people in the gaming community, 99% of people are, I'm sure, like you out there, which welcome new players with open arms and try and help them in their first couple of games and try and help them win, and deliberately turn it down and deliberately tell them, oh, you're making a mistake here, or have you thought about this? Because I'm sure 99% of 100 out of you are in any game system. Maybe the numbers are smaller than that, maybe it's 98, but I hope it isn't as small as 95. Because if it was as small as 95, that means 5 out of 100 people out there are fecking arseholes. And new people are coming along and having horrible times and are meeting gateways. meeting gatekeepers. Gatekeepers to the hobby and not gateways to the hobby. I see this in the painting chats as well. I see this at Instagram. Oh, that shit. Oh, this isn't very good. I see it in list building. Oh, your list is terrible. What you need to do is this, this, and this. I see it again and again and again. And I'm hoping the percentage is only 1% of gatekeepers. Because I'm sure that 99 out of 100 of you out there are gateways. And if you are a gateway, hear my prayer and preach it out there to all the Emperor-loving members of the Imperium. Preach it, practice what you preach, and try and help and encourage and cheer on. Be a cheerleader for the new players coming into the hobby. Their painting is wonderful. And have you know that painting is really good for a new person, absolutely fantastic for a new person. Can I introduce you into this liquid magic? It's called Nuln Oil. Oh, what is that? Well, being an absolute cheerleader for that list, those 3 dreadnoughts and those 3 land raiders, that's an awesome list. That looks so cool with those 3 dreadnoughts running forward and those little 3 dreadnoughts also shooting away in the backfield. Have you considered as well adding 2 units of 6 blade guard because you haven't got any close combat punch and you're getting punched a bit too much, and sticking them in front of it? Be a gateway. You're new to the game and you're getting a bit carried away with how many relics and how many warlord traits and how many stratagems and the gotchas. Here's an idea for you. Let's just have a fun game and we'll have no stratagems in this game. No stratagems except for the reroll one or maybe pass morale, because everyone knows that one. We'll ignore stratagems. And for this, I'd play 2 games with you. You're new to the club. Let's play 2 1,000 point games. Let's do this as well. Let's make it, just use power. Make it open war, use power, and we'll just use the data sheets. Don't worry about all the other rules, like my Space Marines can do this, and I've got rerolls of that, and here's my psychic tree, and here's my litany tree, and here's my Leagues of Votan judgment. No. You've got a data sheet for your cursed Bumblebee of Doom, and his lightning cannon does 28 shots. It says that on the data sheet, that's fine. Well, here is my Chaos Knight. And don't worry about the turn by this is the date, and let's just fight. And you've got your thing and I've got my thing, and we'll talk through the movement phase, psychic phase, and we'll just use the data sheets. And you're a gateway and you're getting them in to the hobby. I'm sure you're all like that, because the more people that join our hobby and have fun playing this game and have fun showing off their lists and their painting, the more people that engage using the creative side of their brain, the non-stressed out, depressed, life-hacked side of their brain, the more people that can escape from this dreary, turgid hole of a world into a world that is much grimmer and much darker. The more people that are having fun, the more people that are releasing themselves from agony, the more people that are thinking good thoughts and expanding their creative consciousness and having fun. You're increasing the amount of fun, the amount of good in the world. If there's a set amount of good and a set amount of evil and a set amount of entropy or a set amount of growth, or however you want to pass it in your belief system, or even if you want to have strands of Tzeentch all the way throughout, well, then there is still a spectrum, or then there's still a curve, and there is the creative curve, there's the fun curve, there's the positive good, there's the net good curve. Be a gateway, not a gatekeeper. Be a force for good, not a force for evil. And if you see an arsehole being an arsehole, or if you're a local club and you see that whack player grab a little Timmy over there as soon as he walks through the door, say, no, whack player, I shall take Timmy upon my shoulders. I was going to fight with Sandra. I love fighting with Sandra. She's awesome. And I hadn't even got to play against her Leagues of Votan yet, but I will shoulder Timmy. Then you are a legend, sir. You are a legend. And I salute you. Be a gateway, not a gatekeeper. And don't play Craft World Elder. So thank you for listening to my this thing. I think I'll pop off. It's been way over an hour and a half. Thank you for everyone who became a channel member, the 3 or 4 of you during that stream. If there are any others that want to join me in the deployment zone or become a tier 3 channel member to get access to my Discord and all the extra videos and things, then please do so. Thank you to everyone that saw at the Wild West Open, and thank you everyone who donated and has spoken in the chat, and for Chewy for turning up, and for Mods, Inquisitor Vex, and others, for everyone who meant message and everyone who subscribed to me. I appreciate you. Happy wargaming. No, not yet. I don't press that one. Okay, you don't press. Damn it! How do you do this one again? It's been 2 weeks. Life can be stressing with gatekeepers. I just get away from that. My painting mantra is yes, exactly. Amen. Best sign off ever. Well, wee man, it would have been no elves, the best sign off ever. But then I fecked it up, didn't I? Shogun Mage. Oh my God, I made a live stream finally. Shogun, we were just leaving. Okay, sorry. So I'm pressing that button. I think I'm pressing that button. Right, we'll edit that. We'll edit that last bit out, okay? Guys, have a good evening. Tell someone that you love them and mean it. Happy wargaming. That worked. It's that button. Yay!